Hi there, and welcome to CannaPodcast. The show is being recorded on Wednesday, April 24th, 2013. It's our second show. The shows are available on YouTube immediately after broadcast, and you can also find us on iTunes as well, officially legit. Just search for CannaPodcast. If you have questions about the show or would like to suggest or a topic or a guest, you can email us at info@CannaPodcast, and you can also telephone us at 720-336-1420. A little bit of cannabis irony there. I thought I'd start out by recapping the weekend of 420 in Denver, Colorado, a historic weekend for many of us in the cannabis industry, patients and adult use consumers alike. It was an interesting cultural experience. I saw things and learned things I never thought I would have encountered before. During 420, I'd say it was around noon, I was in the adult use area, and I was quite peeved because I had a radio interview I needed to get to at iCannabis Radio, and the crowd wasn't moving. And I thought, there's a random product demonstration or somebody dabbing, giving out free joints. Who knows what was going on ahead of me? And I kind of wiggled through, and this fellow had dropped to his knees and was proposing to his girlfriend right there in the middle of 420. So it was a delightful cultural moment. And there are so many people who love and enjoy this plant recreationally and medicinally. And I really feel that it was an amazing experience. So if you didn't get to Denver for High Times Cannabis Cup, you should try to either go to one of these events or go to a similar event in a city near you. So it started for me personally on last Thursday. I got to go to the premiere of American Drug War 2, which was really a moving experience. I had the pleasure of being a part of the movie during production when the crew came. Chris Wallace came and shot some footage at Dixie, and I've been following Cash Hyde's story for a significant amount of time. As the parent of a small child myself, I really have to take my hat off to the Hyde family. Mike and Callie. Callie's a registered nurse who, against all odds, chose to give their child cannabis oil, concentrated medicinal form of cannabis, to help to cure Cash's significant health concerns. So if you have the chance to see American Drug War 2, I highly recommend it. It's a really good movie. It's very hard for me to talk about, but I just have an unending respect for this family and the growers who helped them. If you have any interest in supporting the Cash Hyde Foundation, please go to their website. Mike was in town, and on the 21st, he was actually at Children's Hospital. He donated for reggae runners. When sick children are in the hospital, they're too small for wheelchairs, so they have these wonderful wagons that are decaled with the Cash Hyde Foundation stickers. It's my understanding it only costs $100 to volunteer to support one and have it donated to a hospital near you. So I'd just like to thank the producers of American Drug War 2 and the Cash Hyde Foundation for the experience and the education. Thank you. That was Thursday of last week. On Friday, I got to go down and set up our booth for Dixie Elixirs and Edibles at the High Times Cannabis Cup, and that was a really interesting experience in itself to set up 200 booths within 8 hours, essentially, is a remarkable feat, especially at a sold-out event. So, Rick and John at High Times, thank you so much for your time and energy that you devoted into supporting me personally and Dixie Elixirs and Edibles and making our High Times experience an amazing one. So, um, that evening on Friday, I got to go to the Snoop Dogg event, which was really spectacular. Dixie Elixirs and Native Roots were both sponsors of that event, and I don't really follow the rap scene, hip hop scene, but Snoop Lion is a remarkable person. I got to spend a couple months in Jamaica in my early 20s and really have a deep respect for the Rastafarian community and how they live as an extended family. And Snoop has made a transition into Rastafarian culture from Snoop Dogg. He's now taken the name moniker, if you will, Snoop Lion, and purports himself to be a reincarnation of Bob Marley. As a Marley family fan, I have a deep respect for that transition. So it was really an amazing experience. Not only did I get to hang out with all my dear friends who are in the cannabis industry in Colorado and Colorado, LA, internationally, it really was the where place to be on last Friday night. So um, shenanigans ensued, and it was a great cannabis time. Snoop waited till midnight, and he came out through a large number of joints of the crowd. I was far stage right, so obviously those didn't hit me, but everyone really enjoyed themselves, and it was a yet another amazing example of what adult use can look like in the state of Colorado. And I hope other states are paying attention because you can consume cannabis and have a good time and be a responsible citizen. So the next morning, woke up really early for having been out so late and got to go to what was it, Wild Eggs. I missed the Green Relief or the Dem Relief Green team that I normally have breakfast with on Four Times, but I did get to have breakfast with the staff at Can Labs, Jennifer Murray and Steve Kiltz, and they are the premier testing lab in the state of Colorado. So my husband and I had a great time enjoying their company, and we got to catch up on different cannabis things. It's really nice to be in a public place where not only are we respected, but we're encouraged to interact with other patrons and talk about cannabis. So hats off to Wild Eggs. Had smoking hash, which is a delectable hash and scrambled egg dish. So it's kind of a 420 tradition. We're developing quite a few of them. So off to High Times on 420 Saturday morning. Was there, set up the booth, did the tweaks, ran around, said hi to some people, and then the gates opened and madness ensued. I have never seen a line longer. I have never seen more enthusiastic people. It was like Renfest on marijuana. And that in itself was a really amazing thing. Not only did I see the couple get engaged right in front of me, but I saw people supporting each other and being kind to each other. And at 420, I was not in the medicating area. I was elsewhere. But I know that cannabis and pipes and t-shirts were thrown out into the crowd from every booth. And it seemed to be a really remarkable time. I did get to spend a significant amount of time at 420 with my friends at iCannabis Radio, the Hemp Connoisseur radio show with Dave Maglina, and also in the lab with Jennifer Murray from Can Labs. I got to be interviewed by Jen and Julie Dooley from Kate and Julie Infused Goods, and also Betty Aldworth from she's the deputy director of NCIA, National Cannabis Industry Association. That in itself was an interesting moment because that interview was audio and videotaped by CNN. So we had some national press that were quite interested in what we were doing, what we had to say as cannabis advocates, as specifically as female cannabis advocates, because females in this country make a significant portion of medical decisions for our families, and embracing natural plant medicines is kind of an industry, a health industry trend. So it's important to recognize that female professionals are at these events and we are talking to each other. We're making an effort to educate other females and educate other people, whether it be lay people or doctors, about the benefits of cannabis as a health plant. Sadly, at the 420 rally in the Capitol, there were some shots fired at the end of that event. It turned out to be gang-related unrest, and two bystanders were shot. So our thoughts go out to them. This kind of violence happens everywhere. When I spoke to the CNN reporter about it, he just kind of shrugged and said, it's surprising that it was at a cannabis event, but that gun violence is seeping into every facet of American culture. So that's very, very sad. I also got to go and peek in at Tamar Wise, who spoke on the panel at High Times Cup, The Art of Edibles, and really gave a scientific twist to how edibles work in our endocannabinoid system and how they're absorbed by the liver. So that was really amazing. Rather than listening to a chef or a baker, you really got to have some quantitative, scientific understanding of how cannabis edibles work submucosally in the soft lining of the mouth, but also how they're absorbed through the soft tissues and broken down by the liver. So I hope to have Tamar on in the next couple of weeks to have a really in-depth conversation about edibles. So Dixie's competition entry into the edible category was the Colorado bar. It was an amazingly dosed 420 milligrams of active THC and a peanut butter ganache covered in white and dark chocolate. Sadly, we did not win, but we will try again next year, and we're constantly learning and evolving and growing. So all three winners were chocolate items, so that's definitely something that we'll continue to embrace. But I would like to give a shout out to my friends who did win in their different entries: The Clinic, MMJ America, my friends at Good Chemistry, Denver Relief, LeConte's North, and also Essential Extracts. Great job, you guys. And here's to another year of producing amazing cannabis flowers, cannabis extracts, and also cannabis edibles. So I think the real key in producing an award-winning cannabis product is being innovative. And this plant has so much promise for the future that innovations everywhere, whether it's a concentrate or an edible or a CBD-rich hemp oil, we're learning so much. So I think it's just about being aware and also having some kind of scientific background to understand the quantitative properties of the plant. So I would like to thank all the great people who visited the booth and were really interested in the cannabis education that we were offering. So many people don't understand how edibles work with their endocannabinoid system and how they can be used as responsible and effective cannabis medicine. So really had a great time speaking about our products and educating people on the different uptake methods to consume them. Really wanted to talk about our lexicon, how we talk about cannabis and cannabinoids. I had a news crew in today from Britain, and they kept referring to the plant as pot and weed. And one of the things I always do when we have a news crew in is I say, here in this office and when you're around me, I prefer that you call this plant cannabis. The plant that we commonly refer to as marijuana, that's kind of a dirty word. We actually call it the M word in the industry, because marijuana is the word that politicians use to kind of trick doctors and farmers into voting against cannabis. So it's something that we don't embrace in Colorado. The other thing I wanted to talk to within our lexicon is in different states, how in Colorado it's a medical cannabis center. In Washington, it's an access point. In Arizona and New Mexico, California, all these different words are being used to being called different things. And it seems like the legislators within those states are trying to give every state a different language. And what that does for us, to us, as cannabis advocates, is it separates us linguistically. And what I would like to say to CannaPodcast viewers in new states, when your legislation is being crafted, try and pick one of the words that is commonly accepted for not only the plant. I mean, agree to all call it cannabis, and then agree to call the access point or the medical cannabis center the same thing. We need to unite around these words as an industry, because having the store be a different name in every single state that's legal is another way of separating us together. One of the things that I do as a cannabis industry person is I actively follow several nonprofits which are working to legalize this plant for medicinal and adult use throughout the United States. Marijuana Policy Project is one of those, and we're on to 18 states, which is really exciting, because 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 7 more states, maybe 8 more states, and we actually have the opportunity to sue the federal government and legalize cannabis for everyone. It's really an exciting time, and if you have some money that you would like to donate to either the Cash Hyde Foundation or the Marijuana Policy Project, these are both, one is a way to support young children and get the message out to cannabis, to families, that cannabis is a responsible and significant form of healthcare for their families. But supporting the Marijuana Policy Project helps to legalize cannabis for everyone, which would be a remarkable thing to see in my lifetime, and something that I do think will happen. So own your lexicon. Let's call it cannabis and not marijuana. A lot of times when I talk about hemp and marijuana, I say the plant we commonly refer to as marijuana, and people seem to understand that. They seem to say, oh yeah, that's not a word we chose for ourselves. That's something that was placed upon us. And then also, let's call these stores all the same name, and encourage the press when they're coming to our stores or our homes and they're covering what we're doing in this emerging industry to not call it pot or weed, because it's so much more than that. So the great news is that change really is on the horizon. We have the power to make the change happen, and there's been a significant output of policy from the Obama administration today. Essentially, a new drug policy with 4 main points. And the great thing about American drug policy right now is prescription drug use is declining. Cocaine and related overdoses are dropping significantly. For the 3rd straight year, our prison and jail population has declined. We know that you cannot arrest or incarcerate your way out of a drug policy problem. So it's nice to see that change is happening from within, And the people who are governing us are paying attention to the how and the why and the where and the when. And they're making policy changes based on positive movement within the cannabis industry and the cannabis movement. Essentially, there are 4 points the Obama administration's put out. They're interested in preventing drug use, and it begins with education, which is great because I personally am all about education. Expanding access to treatment, and this would be for harder drugs like cocaine, meth, heroin, those things. Reforming the criminal justice system to break the cycle of drug use, crime, and incarceration, which is really significant because so many of the people being housed in our criminal justice system are there for marijuana, cannabis, and they shouldn't be. These are people that within 2 years of housing them, we could have paid for college educations. Within 4 years of housing them, we could have paid for college educations and job training. And within 7 or 8 years of housing them in these prison systems, we could have given them a college education, job training, and a down payment on a home. So it's a real moment where you need to think about what having cannabis use in the United States looks like to our economic system, but who are we really looking to help? The police and the sheriffs and the people who run these prisons, whether they be for profit or not for profit, we really need to put bad people in prison. And cannabis use is not a bad thing. It's not something that you should have to go to jail or prison for. So, and lastly, I found this very interesting, the wording of it. Support Americans in recovery and lift the stigma associated with drug use disorders. Disorders is a really interesting word because cannabis, for me, I perceive it as a plant medicine, and we all self-medicate from time to time. Disorder, it's an erratic choice of words because disorder is, in cannabis use at least, the farthest word from what I see happening when someone uses cannabis. I see people having order within their lives. It's an amazing companion plant, and I see people using it daily to relieve stress and anxiety in their lives, to allow them to be better citizens, better parents, better workers, to allow them to achieve health and wellness goals they wouldn't achieve before, and also to allow them to deal with their pain and their illness. And I find that to be a really beautiful and enriching thing. So to the Obama administration, I'd have to say definitely on the right path, but we need to continue the conversation and to build the lexicon about what cannabis use really is to the citizens of the United States and one day the citizens of the world. So I perceive that the drug policy really is a public health issue and not a criminal justice issue. And the sooner we can start having it as a health and wellness conversation and not a criminalized conversation, I think the better we'll be as a nation. So it'll have a significant impact on the social and economic purview of the United States. Because here in Colorado, cannabis is really about job creation. It's about filling thousands and thousands, millions really, of square feet of warehouses that were empty 5 years ago. They're now filled with cannabis businesses. They're filled with grows, cultivation centers, production facilities, kitchens, labs, and medical cannabis centers. And who doesn't want that for their state, for their city, for their tax base? In Colorado Springs in 2012, they actually were able to turn the street lamps back on, hire more people on the police force, and also, have trash pickup on a more regular basis because of the money the cannabis industry put into the local economy there. So I want to briefly have a conversation about the health benefits of cannabis and cancer. And say that in the upcoming weeks I've had a lot of people contact me and say, I really want you to do a show about the effects of THC and CBD on cancer. And I wanted to say to all of you that in the next 3 weeks that we'll be producing a show here on CannaPodcast. We'll have some really significant things to say, but it's going to take a little bit of time to get you the best information possible, and also to find the people within the industry who have the most significant things to say on the show. So thank you. It's a really great idea, one that I'm going to immediately embrace, and we'll be having a cancer and cannabis show on very, very soon. So, and now on to hemp. Cannabis is much maligned, but very beautiful plant as well. We have some significant things going in Colorado right now where the test crops for industrial hemp will be starting for the first time this spring in 2013. And as the snow melts away and the summer sun shows her face, those seeds are being planted, sowed, and I can't wait to go out into the hemp fields of my friends and see those little plants break through the soil. I'll have behind me very soon a hemp plant that we can follow throughout the summer until it gets too big to have in the house, so we have to put it outside. So I'm very much looking forward to that. Hemp is really Colorado's agricultural future, and I hope that it goes so well that it's the United States agricultural future as well. The hemp seeds are incredibly nutritious. The stalks and stems can be made into amazing plant medicine. They're very rich in cannabinoids, which is CBD. They have significant use in industrial applications such as hemp cement, cordage, rope, fabric applications. It's a very strong fiber. And also, hemp can clean radioactive material out of the soil. So I'm interested in checking in with my friends at Hemp Cleans. They'll be planting a test crop of hemp in a radioactive site here in Colorado to see if they can clean the soil. And I think they are pretty far along in their research and development on that. So it'll be great to check in with them. So hemp really is the second wave of job creation in Colorado, where cannabis was the first wave, with not only cultivators, culinary professionals, business people, marketing, HVAC, real estate, printing, even reporters selling, the Denver Post. We've given them a tremendous lift financially, but hemp is really the next wave of job creation. And what that job creation is going to look like, it's going to put farmers who aren't doing so well and are very close to losing their farms, it might put them back into the grain. This is a plant which requires very little water or pesticide. It's considered a green crop, if you will, and it will have a significant impact on our agricultural industry in Colorado. So I'm really looking forward to what this looks like, and I feel incredibly blessed that it's happening here in Colorado. One day, hemp will be traded on the stock exchange, right along corn and wheat. And with any luck at all, this won't be GMO hemp. This will be seeds that have been saved and cultivated through generations. And the end hope, once we legalize hemp and cannabis use here in Colorado first, which just happened, and then in the United States, the real long-term hope is to go to the United Nations and say, when we were here in the late 1940s, when Henry Anslinger was here and we made a case for making this plant illegal, that we were wrong. And it's time to legalize cannabis and hemp throughout the universe, throughout the world. Sorry. little lofty there, but throughout the world. And that's going to happen at the UN, and hopefully within my lifetime. If not, then I truly hope it will be within my son's lifetime. So I just want to thank everyone for viewing our Canna podcast. And this is our second episode, recorded on April 24th, 2013. You can find us on YouTube at CannaPodcast, and also on iTunes as well. If you have any questions, please remember to contact us at info@CannaPodcast.com or at 720-336-1420. So thank you again. I really appreciate all the views and the input, and I look forward to doing more cannabis education for you. And as a last quick note, I'd like to have a one man's trash is another person's treasure moment. And this is a sign that I found on the floor at High Times Cannabis Cup when we were cleaning, and it says, "No self-medication or consumption permitted on licensed premises." So I really, when I saw this on the floor, I picked it up because I was cleaning up, but then when I read it, I had one of those aha moments where I was like, I think I need to keep this to put with my U.S. High Times Cannabis book in my box for the Smithsonian. So these two items will go in my CannaPodcast Smithsonian box. So thank you for watching, and I look forward to having you next week, and I hope you have a beautiful week and be well.